Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Conan. Is this actually the year that the New York Knicks get back to the NBA Finals? Because right now, they're playing some of the best basketball out of anybody, especially in the Eastern Conference. And today, they got the biggest win of the season, knocking off the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Cup quarterfinal to advance to Vegas to face off against the Magic for the right to play in the NBA Cup final. And that's going to be a really fun game. I'll talk a bit about Heat versus Magic and the upcoming Knicks-Magic matchup before the end of the video. But for now, let's talk about how the Knicks got it done and how they've been getting it done as of late, because over their last 10 games, they are 8-2, I believe 8-1 over their last 9, and they've had multiple decent win streaks. They've beaten some good opponents along the way. They've got one of the best net ratings. They're still a top 5 defense. I believe they're number 3 right now, and they've got now a top 10 offense in the NBA. They're up to number 9 when I checked a little bit ago, so it seems like the Knicks are kind of figuring it out on both sides of the basketball, and a lot of that, goes to Mike Brown. I'm really excited about the way they've been playing under him. I feel like the ball movement has been a lot better this season than we saw at times under Tom Thibodeau, because there were so many moments last season and in the subsequent playoff run where I'm looking at the Knicks and I'm like, there was so much talent on the court right now offensively with Brunson and Towns and Mikal and OG, and yet the offense felt stagnant. They didn't feel productive enough. It felt like I was witnessing a product that was less than the sum of its parts, and now it feels like Mike Brown is getting the most out of a lot of guys, and there have been some growing pains. Guys' numbers aren't quite at what they were last season in a couple of cases, like Karl-Anthony Towns, for example, although he's really starting to figure it out, but it's resulting in just better basketball. They've got a better record right now than they did last season at this point, a better net rating, and at least here in the NBA Cup, they're showcasing that in these high-stakes matchups, what they're doing can absolutely work, and a lot of that is Jalen Brunson, who is just one of the 10 best players in basketball, had 35, 3, and 4 with a block, 13 of 19 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3. He was frying Jamal Shed out there, who's a good defender. There was really just nothing he could do. He could not keep up with Jalen Brunson, and he had 20 alone in the first quarter when a lot of the other Knicks were unable to hit shots, still trying to figure it out, get into a rhythm, because this is a disruptive Raptors defense. At times, it's been less so as of late, but they can cause some issues. Brunson was like, I'll just take over and carry us until everybody else figures it out, and that's exactly what happened. Mike Brown said so after the game, but Brunson is unbelievable. I still can't believe the rise that he's had, going from, oh, wow, the Knicks overpaid for him coming over from Dallas, to bona fide top 10 guy, all NBA player. He's going to try and compete for an all NBA first team slot this season. I think there's a chance he gets in there. At minimum, he'll be all NBA second team. And of course, he's a staple of the Eastern Conference all-star picture. He will absolutely be a starter, or at least he should be. Brunson is inevitable, and he is one of the guys that gives me the most confidence when you go into a series in this Eastern Conference, because there are going to be very few matchups that you have where Brunson isn't the best, or at worst, like a 1A, 1B to the guy on the other side of the court. It's just rare you're ever going to run into anybody that is just straight up like, yeah, consensus better than Jalen Brunson because of what he brings through on the offensive end. Defensively, of course, there's a lot to be desired, but that's where we've seen a lot of other guys step up. Like Mikal and OG Anunoby are playing a lot better this season than they did last year. I feel much more confident in their production on both sides of the ball. I want to shout out Mikal Bridges, because he got a lot of flack both in the regular season and in the playoffs for ups and downs, inconsistency, and not really being the guy that the Knicks were looking for when they gave up like a billion first-round picks to grab him. And so far this season, he's putting up 16.5 on over 50% shooting, 41% from 3. That's up about 6 points from last season, and he's averaging 2 steals as opposed to 0.9 last year. And if you take like the advanced metrics, the eye test, everything tells me it's been a better defensive year for Mikal Bridges. Last year, I felt like there were issues with his screen navigation. He was put on some big-time scores, and it didn't feel like he had quite the impact that he did, in say like Phoenix, where he was being asked to be a bit more of like a complementary role player, as opposed to Brooklyn, where he's being asked to be this number 1 scorer. And it feels like now the switch has finally flipped back over to, okay, they don't need me to go get buckets all the time. I've got to focus more energy defensively. He's gotten a bit more into a groove, and it's worked wonders. He is a big reason why the Knicks are a top 10 defense. I've really enjoyed the Mikal Bridges experience so far this season, and of course the same goes for OG Anunoby, who is going to be out there competing for an all-defense spot, assuming he plays enough games, because he did have a pretty sizable absence, but since coming back, he's been really, really solid for them. And on the season, 16 points a night, 48.5% from the field, and a career high 40.9 from 3, 1.9 steals as well, which ties his career high. Same thing with Mikal. I feel like he's been better offensively. That 3-point shot, that's really what they need. Like, as long as those two guys on the wings are playing defense and hitting their threes and giving them like a little bit of creation, a little bit of extra options, attacking a closeout or playmaking or grabbing an offensive rebound, like just doing some of the little stuff, you are getting a lot of value back. And as long as Brunson and Cat are being themselves, which more often than not they are, then you've immediately got one of the best teams in the NBA, one of the best recipes for winning. And so far, you've gotten that defense from Mikal. You've definitely gotten the defense from OG, who last year was an all-defensive level player. It feels like the exact same again this year, but now he's hitting 40% of his threes. The ball is moving, finding him in better spots, it feels like. Again, I think the Mike Brown system has done these guys wonders. And Karl-Anthony Towns is someone who struggled with it a little bit. Like, so far this season, just 35.3% from three. That's the lowest mark since his rookie season. 22.5 points per game. That's a tick down from last year where he was up to 24.4. But a big part of that was the beginning of the season when Cat was struggling and clearly trying to figure out, what is my role in this Mike Brown system? There are multiple moments where he seemed frustrated in interviews, but it feels like he's found a bit of a groove at this moment. Today wasn't his best game, 14 on 4 of 11 shooting, only 1 of 2 from 3, but did grab 16 rebounds. I mean, he's still been a monster on the glass, 12 boards a night, and that's been huge for them. But like, he had 35 against the Hornets, he had 29 against the Celtics, 22 against the Raptors last game, 37 recently against the Nets, 24 against the Magic with 8 boards and a couple of threes. Like, it seems like Cat is kind of figuring it out a little bit more. He's looking more and more comfortable. It's not always going to be him as featured maybe as he was in the Tom Thibodeau system last year, but he's being very, very effective. And over his last 9 games, last 10 games, 22.5 points to go with 11.2 boards, and he's 50% from the field, 40% from 3. That's more like the Cat numbers you want to see. So he's getting back to his usual self, and I feel like he's held up decently well so far this year defensively. Not been anything too insane, but I don't think he's been terrible by any means. And that goes to, also like Mitchell Robinson, who's been really solid for this team as an offensive rebounder. He's been a good defensive presence. The big issue is just can't hit any of his free throws. Like today, he went, I think, 2 of 6 or 2 of 7 or something like that. And that brought his free throw percentage up. Like, he's shooting, I think, 17% on the season, so that's abysmal. And the Knicks did pivot away from him. They started off the year with Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup, and now it's Josh Hart. Josh Hart is back out there in the starting lineup, and credit to him, Josh Hart is playing some of the best basketball of his career right now. 12 points per game, 8 boards, 5 assists. He had 21, 6, 4, and 2 against the Raptors tonight, 17, 12, and 1 assist with 3 threes against the Magic. He went 4 of 7 from 3 against the Celtics and the Raptors, 4 of 6 against the Hornets. Clear career high, 38.4% from 3 so far this season. And he's only playing 29 minutes a night, so his workload is down a ton. He's shooting better from 3. He's been a really nice spark plug, a really nice connective piece. I think Josh Hart has played some really good basketball so far this season, and you can kind of see it in the net rating. Like last year, when they ran this Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Towns, Brunson lineup, that was, their most played lineup. It was 940 minutes. They only had a net rating of 3 together, like just barely above the baseline in terms of net rating with that group of 5 out there. So far this season, they've dealt with injuries to OG, and, they haven't really had everybody out there consistently. It's not been a ton of minutes for that group, but in the 47 minutes that group has shared so far, they've got a net rating of 35.7. That's by far one of the best 5-man units in the entire sport at the moment. Offensive rating of 131.7 and a defensive rating of 96.1. They're scoring 1 million points. They're clamping everybody. They looked phenomenal. Again, really small sample size. 47 minutes isn't much whatsoever, and maybe it won't hold. Maybe they eventually fall back a little bit, but I think those results are reflected in the play of the Knicks so far this season. That 5 feels very cohesive, and they're really playing extremely well together. And credit to some of the other guys, like Deuce McBride has been really good so far this season. 11.5 points, 44% from 3, playing great defense. He's been one of the best reserves in the sport and has started a couple of games when they've needed him to. Landry Shamet's dealing with injury, but he's actually been really good for them so far this season, shooting 42.4% from 3 as one of the better bench shooters in the NBA. Like those, top 8 or so have been pretty reliable for the Knicks. The only concern I have, if I've definitely got one for the Knicks, it's that the depth is still not super convincing. Like beyond them, Jordan Clarkson has given you some good games. He's putting up around 10 points a night, which is one of the better scoring options, compared to last year's bench, but it's not great efficiency so far. He's shooting just 42.6% from the field, 29% from 3. Maybe that'll come along, but I've been not the most impressed with Jordan Clarkson. It was a signing I liked a good bit. Same thing with Gershon Yabusele. Like, I thought he was going to be awesome for this team, and it's just not really materialized up until this point. He's shooting just 30% from 3, 40% from the field. Definitely looks like he might have put on some weight over the course of the offseason. He just looks a little bit slower. I don't know. He just hasn't been as effective as he was in Philly last season when he was one of the better role players in the league. So if those two guys can kind of get a bit more of a rhythm and figure it out, then I feel really good about this Knicks team's chances to come out of the Eastern Conference. I mean, right now already, if you asked me to pick today, like say we start the playoffs tomorrow, I probably would pick the Knicks. I think they've been probably the most convincing so far. Like the Pistons have been really good, but again, I think about the experience thing, and Cleveland has just been disappointing to me, even though like I take a look at the stats and they should be a lot better than the results have indicated so far. So maybe they get healthy and it changes, but I don't know. The Knicks have definitely so far have looked the part of a team that can win the Eastern Conference, a championship contender, and I've been enjoying it a lot. Like I was really excited about Mike Brown coming into the season. I loved him as the hire for this squad. I think he's done a good job of elevating the talent. Plus, just another year to kind of get to know each other as players, build up that chemistry, I think is really showing in a lot of the numbers that we're seeing here, especially that defense. That defense is big. Offensively, we know they can put up points. We saw it last year, although now it feels a lot more creative. It feels a lot more fluid, and I would say a lot more playoff sustainable. But defense was their undoing last year, and it is clearly, when you just take a look on paper, one of the Achilles heels of this team. Like, can you win a championship with Cat and Brunson both out there as defenders? I mean, if the rest of the squad is defending the way they are now and those guys are at least competing, the answer might be yes. So been really excited about that. Would maybe like to see them add a little bit more depth so far this season. Like they've gotten some decent minutes from like Tyler Kolek and Huck Porty and a couple of guys further down the list, but I just think in this Eastern Conference you might need a little bit more. Maybe not. Like it's not the best Eastern Conference you've ever seen. So yeah, the Knicks right now feel like a legitimate threat to win this East, maybe even the favorites. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Have you been impressed with the Knicks? Do you still want to see a little bit more? And are they your favorites to win the Eastern Conference right now? I actually put out a tweet asking y'all right before I record this video. 68.2% of you said yes, 31.8% of you said no, and there's about 365 votes. So yeah, I mean, it's looking like most of you would say, yeah, the Knicks are your favorite to win the East. Okay, let's quickly talk about the other game that we saw. It was Heat versus Magic. Orlando just looked like the better team. After the first few minutes, the Heat jumped out to like a 13-0 lead or something along those lines, and pretty much everything after that was the Orlando Magic, even though no Franz Wagner, who's been their best player so far this season. Desmond Bane was really the story of this one. He's been heating up. If you were not a big fan of the trade, if you're like they gave up so many picks, games like this and the way he's been playing recently is exactly why. 37, 6 and 5, 6 of 9 from 3, 58% from the field overall. Bane was unbelievable. I mean, he was driving to the basket. He's been really aggressive recently. It feels like making it a point to drive into contact and finish at the rim, knocking down those 3-point shots after he started pretty slow in the season. Bane's been awesome. This is the exact player that I envisioned when they traded for him, as this really capable connector, but also guy that can take over and be the one option on a night if you need him to be. And yeah, Paolo didn't have a great shooting night, 5 of 13, 18 points. He did have some good moments, especially in the first half, but he's still coming back from injury. It feels like he's finding his footing. Anthony Black just 5 of 15. Like they needed somebody to step up and be productive on that offensive end, and a lot of it was Desmond Bane. Like this is exactly what they brought him in to do, and he's been very capable of it recently. Good game from Wendell Carter, 14 and 10, 2 of 3 from 3, 6 of 8 from the field, a couple of offensive rebounds. Jalen Suggs, 3 of 8 from 3 for 20 points, 11 from Tristan Da Silva, 7 from Goga Batadze off the bench. And yeah, Orlando's going to face off against the Knicks. I'm very excited to see these two teams play again. I think I would lean the Knicks if I had to right now, just because of no Franz Wagner. Franz was playing, I might feel a little bit differently, but either way, it's going to be a duel. These are two physical, as of recently, defensive teams. The Magic more so than the Knicks. I mean, the Magic are just back to their like meat grinder defensive type of tendencies, where they're going to be hyper physical, give you bruises by the end of the night. For the Heat, things have just been struggling a little bit recently with this team. Offensively, it feels like they've kind of been figured out a little bit. The gimmick's not really working. Defensively, they've not been the most impressive either. It's just not going well for them. Not been the best start to Tyler Hero's season so far. He was 7 of 17 tonight, 0 of 6 from 3. Bam Adebayo gave them 50% shooting, 19 points, but he was also 0 of 3. The team as a whole was 24% from the outside. Norman Powell, 21 points, led the way in scoring, but just 4 of 12 from the outside. It's just not been kind of what we saw at the beginning of the season for the Miami Heat, and it's starting to look like that maybe the revolutionary offense they're running at the beginning of the year, which was really fun to watch, may not be sustainable in the way that they were hoping it would be. So yeah, that is kind of my thoughts so far on the NBA Cup, the Eastern Conference side of the bracket. Tomorrow, today, whatever, when you're watching this video, it's Suns Thunder and it's Spurs versus Lakers. My predictions going into this NBA Cup round were Thunder and then the Lakers winning, the Thunder being the Lakers. I had the Raptors being the Knicks, and then they fall off a cliff because I made those predictions a couple couple of weeks ago. And then I had the Raptors being the Magic, so obviously that's dead. But if the Knicks win, then I guess I get that right on that side of the bracket. So yeah, I'm excited to see the rest of the NBA Cup. Let me know down below what your thoughts have been so far, what your thoughts are on the Knicks, and who wins Knicks versus Magic. But for the moment, I appreciate you watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I appreciate you watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.